Hey, what's going on, Guardians? TBL here, and today we're going to be talking about quite a few things, ranging from tweets and ideas put out by the live team director for Destiny 2, Christopher Barrett, from new things we've learned from him, as well as when we'll be hearing in a more direct way from Bungie in the future, and of course the current state of Destiny 2. Now, it's no real surprise, everybody knows the game is definitely hemorrhaging players right now, as Guardians and content creators alike jump ship to go play other games because really there's not much to do in Destiny 2 right now. The state of the game is definitely not good. But as part of the ongoing feedback and lines of communication we've had, we've learned about a couple of things that are going to be changing soon and when we'll be hearing next from Bungie, and of course what we'll be hearing about. And of course, a lot of this communication is coming directly from Christopher Barrett himself. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to his Twitter feed, but he has been basically going off for the past couple of days, responding directly to community concerns and talking about a lot of things that I do feel are pretty important when it comes to the future of whether or not Destiny 2 is going to remain a game we all want to focus our time on. For example, by now I'm sure you've seen his tweet focused on weapons and the weapon system in Destiny 2. Which stated, Destiny 2 needs more weapons that matter, both in power and the hunt to acquire them. Exotics need to live up to their name. The most skillful or visceral weapons like snipers, shotguns, and fusion rifles need to return to glory. We're on it. Now, a lot of people took that as a very positive step forward, possibly even meaning we might be going back to the older classic Destiny weapon system of having a primary, a secondary weapon, and a heavy weapon or a power weapon as they're called in Destiny 2. I'm not sure if that's completely going to be the case. We'll have to see moving forward, but that kind of communication is exactly the sort of thing players were looking to hear from Bungie right now, just maybe in a more official standpoint. But we've heard some other things that are certainly of interest from Chris, including the possible return of even more exotics from Destiny 1. Now, this is something that isn't too surprising to me when we saw that Jade Rabbit, Hardlight, and Telesto, when those guns were coming back. I had a feeling that we'd be seeing a few more in the future. And it looks like that might be the case. Chris was asked on Twitter if there were going to be any more returning exotics from D1, to which he said, yes, new exotics are of course a higher priority, but we'll be bringing back some old favorites too. And this made me happy because, of course, if you saw that previous video I made about D1 content returning to D2, I think it's all but inevitable at this point that we'll be getting some of the activities, worlds, and items from Destiny 1 back in D2. It's good to hear a little bit of confirmation on that point. It's also great to hear that they're prioritizing working on newer content, newer weapons, newer armor pieces, before bringing back some of the older ones, because of course we want all new stuff in this game. Whenever you get a sequel, you always want brand new things, but it's neat to know that we're going to be getting some old stuff back. Now, what those old exotics are, I've no idea. There's certainly a lot that I would like to see. I'd love to see stuff like Hawkmoon or The Last Word make their way back into Destiny 2, but of course we're just going to have to see as we move forward. I'd imagine unless, of course, a significant change is coming to the weapon system in Destiny 2, they're probably going to have to play it cool and fast with some of the exotics that they bring forward. We won't be seeing anything like the Universal Remote or the No Land Beyond coming because, of course, those are primary weapons, and they kind of break the current weapon system. So if we get like a blog update sometime in the future and they talk about No Land Beyond coming back, you could probably take that as meaning that the weapon system's going to change, which could certainly be something for the better. I just overall think it's a really interesting prospect, and I kind of want to see what exotics are going to be making their return. Another question that was tossed Chris's way was this: will there ever be hidden quests like Black Spindle or Outbreak Prime again? Those types of quests are non-existent in D2, and they were brilliant. If you'll remember, back in D1 at the Taken King, we got our first real taste of this, with guns like the Sleeper Simulant, which was of course time-gated, but it was something that whipped the community into an absolute fervor as they tried to figure out how to get this hidden exotic. And then, even more hidden exotics like the Black Spindle quest, which was tied to a daily heroic version of a story mission, and it was extremely missable if you weren't paying attention. These hidden quests were fantastic in D1. They added a bit to the lore and just the overall feel of earning something strong, and they have been, for the most part, lacking in D2. Well, thankfully that seems to be changing, as Chris made a very quick, succinct response of, yep, that kind of stuff will be returning in Destiny 2. And you know what? I'm happy. This is good. The game needs other in-game sorts of grindy things to go after and just little hidden away things, little Easter eggs like that put away into the game, just off on the side of story missions or something like that, was always a really cool feature of Destiny when it actually happened. And it's something that has been sorely missing from D2, so I'm looking forward to it coming back, and I'm looking forward to the kinds of exotic weapons and armor that are going to be tied to story missions and whatnot. I still think there's plenty of story missions that kind of have these narrative threads that could go off to the side and produce an opportunity to get an exotic, but don't. Like, I think those hidden rooms on the 1AU mission, I think those definitely could be tied into something like this, and overall I'm just happy to see this type of system returning to Destiny. But moving on, another question thrown Chris's way was about the new content they've been talking about and whether or not it's going to be available for everyone. There's kind of a big concern that a lot of the quality of life changes discussed in that big development blog update a week or two ago were going to be tied to the upcoming spring DLC. Well, Chris is here to put your fears to rest, as he states all of the features outlined in the development update will be free to all players. So stuff like Masterwork Armors, Mods 2.0, and the changes to PvP and all of that are going to be available to everybody who owns Destiny 2. There's not going to be any sort of DLC-backed lockout this time around, and that's something I'm definitely thankful for. They've already got to keep the players that are still playing the game. No need to lock any more people out of any quality of life changes. And finally, in a rather interesting exchange, Chris was asked a bit about why we can't dismantle all the shaders in a single slot. To which he responded this: "We'll be posting an article explaining the technical challenge and why we haven't fixed it, along with when you can expect a solution," hinting at the fact that even something that we would consider simple, like deleting a pack of shaders, obviously takes a bit more coding behind the scenes than we might expect. And apparently in the future, we'll be getting our own article explaining exactly why it hasn't happened yet. This is the kind of thing I want to see moving forward for Bungie, even if it's for individual issues like this, talking about it, telling us exactly what's going on, what the hardships behind the scenes are, and if you got to post an article or two to tell us why we can't mass delete shaders, do it. Because right now, I do believe the most pivotal thing, the most important thing that Bungie can do in order to help stop the shedding of players for their game, to help save Destiny 2, is simply to communicate the changes that are coming. That big blog post we got from Chris a week or so ago was definitely a good step forward, but in my opinion, even with all of the good things it talked about, it missed probably the most important bits of information that we need to hear. And those are, of course, sandbox changes. Now, of course, those kinds of changes are up to the sandbox team, and communication from them needs to be as good as it is from Christopher Barrett right now. But I do believe that is probably the single most important thing Bungie needs to do moving forward. Even if it's, stuff that isn't concrete, even if it's stuff that might possibly not even make it into the game, just they can put a little asterisk in front of it and say, hey, this stuff isn't final. The final product could be completely different. We could not have any of these changes at all, but this is what we're looking at changing. This is what we're testing behind the scenes. Players right now, they want a reason to play this game. They want this game to be rewarding, and they want to feel powerful, and they want great weapons and great armor like what we had in D1. And I do believe Bungie understands that. They have to at this point. And I truly do believe that behind the scenes they are having these sorts of conversations. I just think that moving forward, especially when it comes to sandbox changes, stuff like the weapon system, the mod system, what buffs and nerfs are coming to weapons legendary and exotic, what they're doing to the armor system to make it a little bit more worthwhile and a little bit closer to what we had in Destiny 1, what they're doing with ability cooldowns to make you feel more powerful, that kind of stuff, those kinds of conversations that they're having behind the scenes, they should probably be talking to the community about right now. And I believe that the faster they get to this level of communication when it comes to the sandbox team and sandbox changes, the better. As a matter of fact, whenever they make this article talking about the change to shaders, I would love to hear a little something about what's going on with the sandbox for Destiny 2. Because that's probably the biggest thing that needs changing, and it's the one thing we haven't heard anything about. I'd imagine a lot of the changes that need to happen with Destiny, changes to the armor system, the mod system, the weapon system, those are probably bigger changes that we won't be seeing until later this year, maybe during the Taken King style expansion that we'll get for D2. But I'm also very excited to hear about exotic quests, those hidden quests coming back into the game. I love the Outbreak Prime quest. That was probably one of the most creative things Bungie has ever done in a video game. So that kind of stuff, both for new exotics and for old, I do believe is very important for the game. That kind of content, especially in the next big content release, there needs to be a lot of things for people to do. There needs to be a lot of things for people to grind for, and that stuff that they're grinding for does need to be way more meaningful than it is right now. Because all of this, of course, is leading to the question of why do you play Destiny 2? A lot of people don't have a reason to play it, and you've been seeing them shed players and content creators like crazy, especially in the past few weeks. And it does lead to the question of why we're still covering content for Destiny 2. And personally, on my own personal channel, I'm not so married to Destiny 2 that moving away from it would really hurt too badly. But I like covering Destiny 2. I enjoy bringing news and information about this game and guides for this game for people because I love the Destiny franchise. I absolutely love Destiny 1, and I'm trying my absolute hardest to love Destiny 2 just as much. But it's got a lot of problems right now, and those problems definitely, they can be solved. I do believe that. I do believe Bungie has the tools and the knowledge and the ability to give us a game that we want to play. After all, these are the same people who made Destiny 1, and I feel like they threw away a lot of the lessons and a lot of the things that they learned from D1 while making D2. And a big part of this learning experience, it must be a learning experience behind the scenes at Bungie right now, is going to be moving back to some of those things from Destiny 1, whether that be the kinds of loot that we're going for, the ability to customize or grind for different roles on weapons, the power fantasy, which is something that's absolutely missing in D2 right now. You definitely don't feel anywhere near as powerful as you did as a Guardian in Destiny 1. All of those are big lessons that hopefully Bungie is learning and applying to the game right now. And I think the most important thing for them moving forward is probably just to remain in complete communication about some of those changes that they're going to be bringing to the game. Hopefully, we'll be hearing some of that soon. But alright, Guardians, that is it for this one. What do you guys think of all this stuff? Are you psyched to hear about D1 exotics returning to the game? Which D1 exotics are you looking for? And how do you feel about stuff like hidden exotic quests, daily bounties, and even the ability to change up your armor once the Masterwork armor set system comes into place? Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But that's it for this one, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to drop a like and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on all of the newest Destiny 2 news and information to come out. But alright, I'm out for now. As always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.